Hey there, ever wondered about what the availability of kosher-certified vermouths right now in the market are, especially as we wrap up 2025 and head into 2026? Well, that's exactly what we're going to discuss on this 187th episode of
The Jewish Drinking Show, bringing l'chaim to life.
Welcome, everyone, to the 187th episode of The Jewish Drinking Show. I'm your host, Rabbi Drew Kaplan, and I'm very excited to welcome back third-time guest of the show, Mendy Mark. Mendy, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Absolutely. All right. So Mendy here previously appeared on episodes 74 and 78 of the Jewish Drinking Show. And for those less familiar with him, for the past 8 years, he has served as the manager for FillerUp Kosher Wines in Teaneck, New Jersey, one of the region's leading kosher wine and spirits retailers. With years of experience in the beverage industry, he has developed a deep expertise in kosher wines, boutique producers, and the growing market for premium Israeli vintages. His work combines operational leadership with a passion for customer education, often guiding consumers toward thoughtful and halakhically sound selections. He's played an instrumental role in helping FillerUp become a destination for both casual buyers and connoisseurs seeking quality kosher wines. He's recognized for his personable approach and commitment to building relationships within New Jersey's Jewish and culinary communities. Beyond his professional work, he actively supports events and tastings that celebrate Jewish culture and fine beverages. His leadership reflects a balance of tradition and innovation, blending respect for halachic standards with contemporary tastes and trends. Through his efforts, Mendy Mark continues to elevate the profile of kosher wine appreciation throughout the tri-state area, and more than just wines. A wide variety of kosher beverages.
Totally.
I think something that speaks to the heart of listeners of the Jewish Drinking Show. I believe we're committed to our pluralism to all kosher beverages.
Totally. Yeah. No, we Scotch, bourbon, vodka, tequila, vermouths, as we're going to get into, and really everything. It's I thank God I have a pretty good handle on the kosher world. You know, there's a lot of as you have discussed many times on the show. There's we're complicated people, and there's a lot of laws when it comes to whether something is kosher or not. And we're also in a few WhatsApp groups together about kosher spirits, and try to make sure that everybody is happy, not just with the quality and with what they're drinking, but with the kosher status as well.
Absolutely. So I'm going to start. I mean, it's funny. One thing on this show, we barely briefly mentioned kosher vermouth, sort of in passing when I previously had on episode 96 Yoni Schwartz with his kosher vermouth, which I have no idea if he's still producing, but I still have some of his dry vermouth here. I could still try it. It's been a few years since I've last had it. I imagine that was, I know he's a busy guy. He's got other things going on in his life. He's got his own job. So that's something that's out there, but I don't know if it's still being sold, if there's any products still out there inventory-wise.
Right. It could still be on somebody's shelf, but it was my understanding it was just one production. Maybe he did a second, but I think and that was it. When he released it, there was, and we can talk about this, for the longest time, the only kosher vermouths on the market was the Kedem dry vermouth and the Kedem sweet vermouth. And we can say, Drew, Baruch Hashem, that both of those have been discontinued.
We did it. We did it. I think we can all. Obviously, I'm glad you mentioned that. I really was going to lead off with that. When I first started getting into cocktails over a dozen years ago, I looked for vermouth, and vermouths, and I think for any person looking to make cocktails, you're going to use vermouth. And any kosher person looking to do cocktails, you're also going to look for vermouth. I mean, actually, I really should have set it up that way. Vermouths are very important for us, for anybody really looking to make cocktails. Although someone could, and you might have poured some for you. I've poured some vermouth for myself as well. There we go. Let's kick things off and say l'chaim, baruch atah melech borei pri hagafen.
Amen. I made a hagafen earlier, so l'chaim.
Amazing. Good on you. For the listeners who may be unfamiliar with it or maybe not so familiar with it, vermouth essentially is a fortified wine, which is you basically just take wine, you add herbs, maybe spices, and usually you'll throw in a spirit to boost the ABV. I think that's the nutshell version of what a vermouth is.
That's basically it. Yeah.
That's basically it. All right. We nailed it. So, and look, I think it's I'm sure people could have vermouth on their own, like we are now modeling for people that we are drinking vermouth on its own. But most of the time, it's consumed as part of a cocktail. And I think for anybody looking to get into cocktails, you're going to need a vermouth. And I think, especially over the last decade, probably a few decades, really, the only kosher, at least widely available, or maybe only available, commercial kosher certified commercial available product was, as you mentioned, Kedem's Red, Kedem's White. That
Yeah.
was it. And unless people are finding old bottles out there, you cannot find it, and nobody is shedding tears, I believe,
No,
about that. And I
no.
remember for years, I'm pretty sure I've written on JewishRing.com, uh, really lamenting that this is a product that really needs to go, and I'm very excited that it's gone. I will say though, I mean, well, one of the things was it was just really bad, and especially as someone who first got into cocktails over a dozen years ago, not liking Manhattan, not liking Martini was a very sad thing. I'm like, oh, vermouth's terrible. Why would anybody use this? And why is it so ubiquitous in cocktails? I was just led astray by how terrible Kedem was. And I think one of the worst things was I think it dragged really the brand name of Kedem down. I don't think it did it any favor. It did it any favors. But when did they stop producing? Was it in the last year or so?
It was in the last 2 to 3 years. I think maybe last 2 years they stopped producing because
Okay.
already I'm trying to remember which one, but I think it was the sweet was out of stock first,
Mhm.
and then the dry was shortly after once they sold out of it. Now it happened around the same time
Mhm.
that all of these vermouths, hit the market. So it was
Mhm.
about 4 years ago. There was only the Kedems
Mhm.
and the one that you just showed, the
The Promised
uh,
Land.
Promised Land. So that was, and again, that did not make it to all the kosher stores. It made it
Mhm.
to a handful. It's a better product for sure than the Kedems. There was no question.
Right.
But
Right.
but personally, I don't think it's as good a product as what the other ones we have now. And it's
Mhm. Right.
it's really, I mean, it's so crazy. I remember so many times over the last, before 4 years ago, when people were coming in and asking for vermouths and being like, I'm sorry, I only have the Kedem. And now seeing I can show people a whole row of in the spirits aisle of kosher vermouths, which
Wow.
for anyone that's been like yourself, a cocktail person,
Mhm.
likes to make cocktails at home. Now you have a bunch of you have different options. You don't
Yeah.
have to just, and which real people that make cocktails at home, like it's you look at what their cabinets, they have lots of different things because they like variety, and you know what I mean. And so now that we're able to we're finally getting into more products, better products. And just like we did with wine, kosher wine 20 years ago, what did
Mhm.
we have compared to what we have now, which is wild, you know what I mean? The amount of kosher wines and the types of kosher wines that we have. So it's the same sort of thing that we
Mhm.
come, we tend to trend, a little slow on many things, but then we went from, zero vermouths to 8 in like 2 years.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how the market reacted to that.
I am kind of curious to hear. I don't know what happened about it, and I only heard at this year's KFWE in February about the conclusion of Kedem, but maybe it stopped already a year or two ago. And I will say for the Yoni Schwartz made the Promised Land one I
Right.
mentioned, that episode was on March 2025. So uh, sorry, March 2022. I don't know. March
Yeah,
2022. So it was
2022.
already nearly 3 years
Okay.
ago when
3 years ago,
so I don't
right?
know if he
Almost four.
produced
Yeah.
that in 2021. I don't know how
Right.
massive the production was or not, but it was, I guess, a short run. So I am mentioning the kosher food and wine experience because for a couple reasons. A, it's the last time I saw you. It's the only time we get to. I think the only time reliably I know I get to see you every year in year out. But
For sure.
one, at 2024's. Actually, no, I'm trying to figure out which way to go. 2025, this year, I got to meet the people behind Lovatelli. So
Great.
this is
So let's start there.
perfect, especially since
Okay.
that's the vermouth I'm currently consuming. So,
Okay. So
all right.
yeah,
So,
so
and they have two or three different products.
they have two vermouth products. They
Mhm.
also have, I think, 4 or 5 wines
Mhm.
under the same label.
Yeah.
Lovatelli is one of Royal Wine's labels. So it's their production. So in Royal Wine, also known as Kedem, also known as the Herzog family, and so they're both they're a distributor. So then they sell all different products from other companies, and they also produce and sell their own products as well. Lovatelli is one of those. Got this information from both of our friend Gabe Geller, who I think has been on the show before.
He has
right?
been previous guest of the show.
Yeah,
to talk about Kedem.
Well, there you go. So the two that they have in production is the one that you showed, the Rosso, and this one, which is the Bianco.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting is that they're both sweet vermouths, and that they didn't make a dry and a sweet, although there is a dry. I was told there is a dry coming.
Okay,
but it is exciting. It's also, of the vermouths that are on the shelf, they're definitely have the best value. They're $20 on the shelf.
Yeah.
And so, well, they're the best value except for another one, which we'll talk in a minute.
I will say this was
like a dark horse.
I'm excited to hear about it. But I was before KFWE, someone had told me, because I'm in the Midwest, they're going up to Chicago, and they're like, I can pick you up some vermouth. I said yes, and $20, like I couldn't believe it, and it's good. Like I'm sipping it, it's good. I mean, I'm not sure if I really want to use it in a cocktail per se.
Right.
I will say, having had at KFWE, I had the one you just showed, the white one.
Right.
I actually this is lovely. This is, especially for the winter months, this is lovely. But there's something really refreshing about the white one.
The white one is also very good. They're both good products, and they're both, I think they can be used as an aperitif.
Yeah.
A digestif, at the end of the meal, especially the Rosso is, I think, an excellent at the end of the meal, almost like finishing with a port, and also it does nicely in cocktails. And I think it would do nice in a Negroni, and other, other cocktails that want a sweet Rosso. But they're definitely, they're great for and they're also mavushal, so, which is, for some, especially if you're buying things for a catered event that's under kosher supervision, mavushal is one of those requirements now for all wine products, and vermouth still falls under a wine product. Most of the vermouths on the market are mavushal. But this one is, so you have no issues using it for a catered event.
I don't know exactly how widely available it is in a retail fashion, but I imagine, being a Kedem import, it should be pretty relatively
widely available. And I would say
maybe not as widespread as Kedem, but probably for kosher stores.
But here's the thing: not only all the kosher stores will for sure have it, but even any non-kosher store that carries Bartenura or Baron Herzog, right? They are able to bring this product in because it's from the same salesperson. It's from the same distributor.
Yeah.
So if you live somewhere that, whether it be in Cincinnati or, Denver or Chicago, or you live somewhere where you might not have a kosher liquor store, but you have stores that have a good amount of kosher products, you could ask them and say, hey, can you, especially if they carry Bartenura, Baron Herzog, that's sort of how you know that they're already getting from that company. You could ask them, oh, can you bring in the Lovatelli vermouths? And again, they can bring in a case. It's not like a big commitment. And if you have a decent sized kosher keeping community coming to their store, it's almost a no-brainer to carry it.
Yeah,
I would think.
Yeah.
Now, again, what's interesting about vermouth is that it's not products that run away, because even if people that make cocktails, how long does it take for you to go through a bottle of vermouth?
That's true.
Let me ask you, how long does it take you usually to go through a bottle of vermouth?
It could take years. I mean, definitely a matter of months. I mean, it'd be shocking if it happened in a matter of weeks, but usually it's months. And also, I think, as opposed to a regular wine, where, like the moment you open it, like the clock's ticking, and it's only going to be so good for so long, even if you refrigerate it. I think owing to the fortified status of it, that's going to help actually keep it longer. So that's
Totally.
actually to the benefit of the consumer that you actually can hold on to it for a longer time than as an open fortified wine product than just an open wine product.
Right. So like the Bianco is 16% ABV, so it's not like the I think some vermouths go up to even 18 or 19. But it definitely is it has been fortified.
I got a question here from the chat. What does it taste like? So
Okay.
I don't, I might have my notes from February on the white one, but
Right.
this one, it's like dark cherry, almost like I don't want to say Michigan cherry, but like some type of dark cherries. That's like the main dominant note for me.
Right.
Um, I don't know. There's some. It kind of reminds me, and you'll appreciate this. There's like something in there that also kind of vaguely reminds me of like a really of like either a stout or a barley wine. There's something in there that reminds me of that. Um, but it's good.
I,
I would say it's great for the winter months, and it's
right.
yeah. I could see it by a fire.
The sweetness comes through, meaning it's not like it, you know what I mean? It is for sure a sweet vermouth and fruity, right? Like you said,
Yeah,
cherry, but it
let's say
definitely
dark
has
cherry. Yeah,
right.
dark
And
cherry.
and not but not so complex. If
Right,
I
right.
remember the Rosa,
Right.
right.
It's not complex. Also, okay, so here I found my notes from February. The Blanco I found to be rounded, oily, and citrusy at the back of the palate and into the finish.
Right.
So it's like if I could just do seasons on these, I would say spring and summer, you go Blanco, the Rosso for the late fall and into the winter.
Hello, dear listeners. It's your host, Rabbi Drew. I wanted to break in right now and just say, hey, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate, or watching, however you're consuming this content. And I'm always open for new ideas, both for specifically the Jewish Drinking Show, whether it's topics, whether it's guests. I'm also looking for other resources that I can provide you with in the Jewish Drinking Project more broadly. Also, I'd really like to offer you the opportunity to sponsor this work. Whether if you want to go to patreon.com/Jewish Drinking, I would greatly appreciate it. And if you have ideas for swag, also, please feel free to send them to me at drew@jewishdrinking.com. All right, thank you so much, L'chaim, and now back into the episode.
Let's talk cocktails for a minute. And this is
Yes.
something that I say often to people because the ingredients that the kosher keeping consumer is going to be different than the ingredients that the person who's writing the cocktail ingredients online. So I always tell people that maybe when you first make it, right, like make it a little bit less than everything it asks for, and then play with it yourself. Because if you're not going to enjoy the cocktail, then what's the point? And because these things are a little different, so like even though this is what's called, it's not a vermouth, but the question I get all the time is about Campari and about Aperol,
Yeah.
right? So those two brands, you can find kosher in Israel and in Europe,
Kosher
but
certified.
Kosher certified,
Yeah.
right? And in America, it's not certified kosher. You cannot find with the certification on that.
Right.
So what I sell in the store as a replacement is the Luxardo products. The Luxardo is a great line of
KLBD.
products that are all under the London Basin. And so they have their Aperitivo, which it would be the substitute for Aperol, and their Rosso bitters, which is the substitute for Campari. And what I tell people is, don't follow it exactly, because the flavor is different. It's not as sweet. It's a little bit more sweet. Like, play with it to get it so that you like it. You're the one who's drinking it, right? You're not. It's not like you're going to a bar and someone's making you a cocktail. You're making yourself a cocktail. And this also, like, I sort of looked at as ingredients and a list for a cocktail as sort of like a suggestion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is the suggested, how to make it, and then you play with it and you get it with the amount so that you are able to enjoy it to its fullest.
I remember one of the first times I had a conversation with someone when they were interested in bringing me out, actually entirely based on this, the Jewish Drinking Show. They liked the content, they liked what they heard from me, and they wanted to bring me out. And during our conversation, they said, hey, we know you have a lot of really great content, but we saw somewhere
that you do tastings also. I said, I do. I do lead tastings and I do Texan tastings. So I realized I did not do a good enough job, certainly on the show and probably in general, and letting people know, in addition to actually sharing really wonderful content about drinking and Jewish wisdom, history, tradition, literature, and more. But I also do tastings, and even better, marrying the two together, doing text and tasting. So if that's something that's of interest to your shul, organization, JCC, whatever it may be, feel free to get in contact with me at drew@jewishdrinking.com. So thank you for letting me break in and share that with you. And now back into the show.
In Israel, Martini and Rossi, both the Rosso, they're dry and they're extra dry. You can all find kosher certified. In America, you cannot find any kosher certified Martini and Rossi until about a year ago in New Jersey, where 150 cases or something like that, 200 cases popped up at this big distributor that I use, one of the biggest distributors I use, a non-kosher distributor. And my salesman says to me, he says, Mendy, I just saw something interesting. It says it says Martini and Rossi kosher. And I'm like, well, send me a case. So let's see what we're talking about. Let me check it first. So if you can see there you go. It's got the Euro K and it's got the OU on there. Wow. Which I don't think the OU is on the ones that you have. I think the ones that you have is the Euro K and the Israeli Hashkacha, if I believe. Do you want to check?
Kasher Mahadran Parv. Oh yeah, EUK, Bashkacha Rav Gerlich, Rav Chazan from Milano.
Right.
And also
that's the Euro K, yeah.
Rabbani, the Rabbanu Yisrael. Okay.
So why is the OU on there? And why is it in New Jersey? And
right.
Why is it in New Jersey?
And also, is that a one-time thing?
It's a one-time thing. So I spoke to, so I really dived deep on this one because I wanted to know. Obviously, I brought in a bunch to the store and I've been selling it for the last year. And there's still a handful of cases left. So I'm gonna buy a bunch. So, but once they're out and once I'm out, and the other stores in New Jersey that bought it are out, that's it. So what happened was in Atlanta, this company got an order for 200 cases of the kosher Martini Rossi vermouth. And then it came to the United States and it got right in the US, distributing is state by state. There's not there's not a distributor that brings in for the whole United States. Every state has like sort of their own distribution. And that goes back to prohibition, which is a whole different thing. They ordered the kosher, right, vermouth, and it got here. And then the distributor said, whoever I was going to buy it flaked. And like, now we don't need these cases. So they put it out to the other distributors that they work with in the other states. Wow. And Fedway, New Jersey raised their hand and said, we'll take it. We have a bunch of kosher accounts, that are specifically looking for kosher products, and we'll take it. So it's here, and I'm very happy to sell on my shelf. And what's amazing is that it's priced the same as the non-kosher. So I have it on my shelf at $9.99. So
how do we become friends with you to buy cases of that?
You buy cases now because it's going to be gone in the next 6 months or so. Yeah.
Another one that I got to taste at, and I heard about it in 2023, and I got to taste some at 2024's KFWE is Jonathan Hajdu's vermouth.
Yes.
And I don't know if that is that continually still being produced and available. There you go.
Yes.
And by the way, when I had it,
available.
When I had it at the 2024, again, I'm not sure how it works in cocktails. It is lovely, just like we said for the Lovatelli as an aperitif. It works on it. I think it's fine on its own.
The truth is it's got a lot going on, and what's interesting is it's calls it a sweet vermouth, but it's not so sweet. It's actually it's got more of like there's definitely citrus, chicory. There's like and it finishes, doesn't finish like dry, but it definitely doesn't finish sweet. So I don't think it would work so great in cocktails unless you maybe create a cocktail around it. But just to use it as like a sweet vermouth, I think it would mess with your cocktail. But now this and it's available both on his website and in stores. Hajdu And this one, the Dalton
Ooh,
Vermouth,
okay.
Dalton Winery from Israel.
Mhm.
These two were released just about the same time.
This is
Um,
2023 they
this
came
is
out?
2023. Yes,
Uh-huh.
yes. And maybe the beginning of 23. Yeah, like before Pesach of 23.
Hmm.
Um, and so what's great because the Kosher Pesach, so it's more stuff on our Kosher Pesach,
Uh-huh.
spirit
Yeah.
wall as well, which is every year, thank God grows. These two are about 45 plus or minus on the shelf,
Okay.
which for vermouth is not. That's a little expensive for me, especially if you're putting it into a cocktail. But again, Dalton Winery, they're a and now they also make some spirits. They have a
Sure.
gin that was
Mhm.
released at the same time, and
Mhm.
so definitely people make cocktails with their gin and their vermouth. This vermouth is 100% a dry vermouth that, if you're going to buy it, should be used for cocktails. There's no
Hmm.
question. You could, again, as also drink it by itself, but I would say for sure it definitely is much more, better for a cocktail base,
Yeah.
and is as well mavushal. Whereas the Hajdu that we saw before is not mavushal. These two came before Lovatelli, so these two hit the market. Then Lovatelli hit the
Also, how
market.
widespread available are they?
So again, so
Hey, do you mentioned the
Hajdu.
website?
Right. Hey, and now Hajdu is sold also by Royal Wine. So technically anyone that brings in Royal, but it's because of the price,
Mm,
it's a boutique product. And
yeah.
Hajdu is a boutique winery. He makes great products. I'm a huge fan of Jonathan Hajdu, both
Mhm.
as a person and as a winemaker. Harder to find because it's a boutique, it's a more of a boutique product. This Dalton is distributed by Allied Importers. You can find it probably anywhere that sells Dalton products. They're also, you could ask them, that store, to bring in the vermouth. Twin Sons is what you see there.
Do they
Twin
only
Sons.
offer
This
that dry
is a
vermouth?
dry. Nope, there's a dry, and this is the one that I've been drinking tonight, which is the
Huh.
sweet.
Okay.
And what's cool, there's a number of things cool about these products. One of the cool things is that on the bottle itself, on the front label, it shows all the different things with a picture and
Mhm.
when right and
Yeah.
saying what is in there. So like on the dry, there's chicory, elderflower, wormwood, hibiscus, cinnamon, ginger, sage, coriander, angelica root, rose hips, orange peel, and aniseed. Both of these products are more complex than the other ones we've been
Mhm.
talking about. They are priced between 25 and 30 on the shelves.
Okay. Okay.
So it's not, you know what I mean? It's
It's more
not like the
affordable than the
45
Hadu
like
and the
the others.
Dalton. Right.
Right. And not right. Um, and it's a dry vermouth that is mavushal that's good that you can use for cocktails and you can
Mhm.
use, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Whereas because also the Martini and Rossi, I didn't mention, is not mavushal. So you can't bring it to a catered event that's in this kosher supervision. Those as well. Yeah, the ones in Israel and the ones they do not make it mavushal,
Huh. Okay.
which is interesting.
Good to know.
Yeah.
They just
um,
don't seem to mention the official piece of it. Yeah.
right.
In Israel, it's
So,
less of an issue.
correct for sure. Their products are a little harder to find outside of the kosher world.
Mhm.
In the kosher world, you can find the New York, New Jersey area, not a problem.
Mhm.
Outside of there, it's a little more difficult. Um, I don't, again, and also the productions are not so big either. So it's
Mhm.
not, they're not producing so much at a time. I think they've already done a second production on both of these,
Oh,
which is
good.
great.
Mhm.
It shows that the product is moving. I like both of these products a lot,
Mm.
compared to all of the vermouths, both for cocktails and with the sweet. I also like it on its own, all similar to like a port. These guys are all around the same maybe they're at 16.5. Also complex, really nice
Mhm.
flavors, and it does. And again, it says it right on the front label, so you know what you're getting yourself into. And also, you know, I like it when they tell you what goes into a product. I like, turning a bottle of wine and seeing percentage of the types of grapes that are in there.
Yeah.
I like, I like going to, and there's not too many, but when you pull up a a bottle of rye or bourbon and it shows the mash bill,
Yeah.
which I for me, I would want a mash bill on every bottle of
Right.
bourbon or rye,
Right.
and this way,
Like all the
because maybe you
Bardstown
do
stuff.
right. So I
Exactly.
like more information. For me, the more
Yeah.
information as a consumer, the more information I get, the better. And so I like that they do that here, because like most gins, they're not sharing with you all the botanicals and all the different things that are going into it. But I think it's good, because that way you can also be like, oh, I didn't smell that. Oh, I didn't taste that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can, delve into it.
Hey there, I wanted to break in yet again. Although I asked for support in financial ways, because it does cost some money to make the hosting happen and other aspects of Jewish drinking happen. So your financial support is definitely appreciated. And don't forget, you can go to jewishdrinking.com/donate. But also, another way of supporting the show and everything that Jewish Drinking does is also to tell your friends, tell your neighbors. If you like this content, if you like this show, maybe people also like it. So feel free to let them know, hey, I have this interesting episode I heard, or a few episodes, or whatever it is, or even a few clips. Feel free to share with your friends. All right, thank you so much. Now back into the show.
Final one.
This is a Spanish Rojo vermouth. This is the most complex and the most interesting of all the vermouths, I think, that are on the market and that we discussed so far. I'm going to read to you a little bit. I have it on my computer from Gamliel Kronemer. I don't know if you know Gamliel.
Not personally, but I've read a lot of his.
So Gamliel is great. He's been writing about kosher cocktails and also wine for a very long time. Mm-hmm. He's also married to a cousin of mine. I'm
maybe you can connect me with him.
Totally. That's easy. This Rojo is made from 100% Macabeo grapes. Macabeo is one of the Spanish white grape varietals. It's grown in the Tarragona region of northern Spain. And the way he wrote it is that with a full body and a cola-like color, is somewhat sweeter than its Italian counterparts. And you definitely get the sweetness on this vermouth. Yeah. And lots of flavor here. It's cinnamon, cloves, orange zest, wormwood. I mean, it's great. You can find this article online in the Jewish J-Link wineguide.com. It's an article that was released on the Jewish Wine Guide, which comes out once a year.
Yeah,
that really closes it out and really shows that we really have some. We finally have, Baruch Hashem, we have some real vermouths on the market.
Wow, Kedem is dead. You know what I mean? But really, I mean, for a lot of, at least the people who are still standing and making cocktails and drinking these days, I mean, for so long we only had Kedem, and thank God, like, I don't know, maybe that paved the way. Maybe at least it put it. I will say this is a bit of an obituary, that like it had going for it wide distribution, even in places that were not at regular kosher places, just regular supermarkets, and also it was. At least it was a product that was in people's minds and awareness, and especially for people starting out, kosher consumers who are making cocktails. At least it was something, and I want to say that it paved the way, and now we have good stuff out there.
Agreed. Questions?
It's more of a comment than anything. First of all, really interesting discussion. I've had, I'd say, just more than half of the available kosher vermouth options. I'm interested to try some of the others that you talked about, especially the Spanish Rojo that you just mentioned. No love lost for the Kedem product. It was essentially undrinkable. I actually, with Rabbi Drew, have attempted to make my own vermouth in the past, because there were just no options outside of somebody traveling to Israel and bringing back Martini Rossi. As a consumer that didn't always keep kosher, but now does, I was spoiled previously. Because even the base products made by Gallo, the cheapest of Trafe vermouths, were far better in a cocktail than anything that was available for the longest time. The closest, I'll say, drinkable vermouth in a cocktail, not for straight drinking, has for me been the Martini Rossi product, but it lacks a lot of complexity and interest that something like Antica Formula, for those that are familiar with it. I mean, considered the gold standard of any really good cocktail serving bar is going to serve. It just hasn't been available. So seeing that there's been so many more options rise in last couple of years, although I haven't enjoyed them all, to be honest. They've all been different and they've all been exploratory. I can't wait for a producer that is able to either replicate or find some of the notes that you get out of some of those premium Trafe vermouths that I miss, like an Antica Formula. And I think it's going to happen now, because I think that I essentially think that the genie's been let out of the bottle. There's a growing interest, and I'm just very interested to know, is anybody exploring outside of the experimental, but more in the classical? Are they playing with these formulations to try to replicate some of the gold standards in the Trafe scene?
So that's a great question. I don't know the answer. I've not heard of any of that. I do know that there are some wineries in Israel that are working on spirits. And there is one that that I heard is working on a vermouth, but I don't want to. I know very little about it, so I don't want to speculate. But I do agree with you, Ryan. I would say that that we're getting there. You know what I mean? I think this is already a huge leap for the kosher community that we've gotten this far. And I would say you should get your hands on the Twin Suns. If it sounded, I don't know if you've tasted those or not, but I think those the dry and the sweet is something you should get your hands on. Again, it's not going to be like that high end one but it is definitely going to be closer to a lot of the other inexpensive vermouths that you were used to when you drank non-kosher. So yeah, I definitely think that those are the ones you should look out for.
I'll give the Twin Suns a try. Thank you.
Levy, what's going on?
Been a long time, Mendy.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
I actually just on my way back from an event where I was using the Dalton products for a martini. Now, that being said, I do represent the brand at this point, so I like to use them for not only the reason that I work for them though, but beforehand, I from what I recall, I think the Dalton vermouth was out before the Hajdu, though, if I'm not mistaken.
It was the first. Did I say the opposite? Dropped. It was. I think you're right.
You said they were the same
time,
but I think it was there for a few, probably a few years before. I don't know how.
I don't think it was years, but okay.
Possible. All I know is when it first came out, I would get a bottle of that. Once I tasted the gin, I found that they are very complementary with each other. I prefer a 2-part gin, 1-part vermouth martini recipe stirred. So to me, they're like made for each other. You would think that someone, maybe the same person, was making it or something. I don't know. But so for me, that was this very special bottle. It happens to be, though, it's priced at that similar range of that Antica Formula, which is a little bit of a tough sell, and to be at $40 plus. Now, when it was the only product in the market, it was a little bit easier. I think now with the Twin Suns and the Lovatelli. Well, the Lovatelli is Bianco, so with the Twin Suns, that brought some competition in. And then the new one that you mentioned, the Rojo, which I have yet to try. I'm definitely curious about.
You need to try that. You need to try that.
Absolutely. That's on the table. I will say the Twin Suns products were very nice when I got to try them. I think I don't remember if I actually posted the video. I did a review of all the ones that were available, including the Martini Rossi that I got myself from Israel. But I did find that, again, it's really nice to have all those products finally available on the market. And just more and more in terms of the cocktail culture that we're finding available kosher is really fun.
Yeah.
And then that's definitely, I think, just to be able to make a really nice Manhattan and a proper martini and any just vermouth-based cocktail is a nice plus for us.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great to hear from a bartender.
When I get to serve it to people who've tried, other products, that's when I get to find out if it really matches up or not.
Mm.
That's where it is.
Yeah, well, actually, now that we have you here as a bartender, I imagine it also having better options as vermouths also helps make better cocktails and happier customers.
For me, yeah, I like to stick with higher quality product. I
Hmm.
did not really do martinis beforehand. I didn't.
Mm.
I tried actually. Speaking of the Hajdu, which again I also enjoyed as an aperitif on its own. I thought it was
Right.
very unique.
Yeah.
It also, unless, as Mendy said, if unless you're building a cocktail around that specific profile, it didn't work as a replacement.
Hmm.
The best I could do with it for Manhattan was like adding in a bunch of either simple syrup or the syrup from the cherries to kind of offset its intensity, its bitterness, and its
Mm.
just what it carried. It wasn't the right profile for Manhattan. Then it could also be the rye sometimes, but I think it can make its own cocktail, but it's still for the kosher market. I think we still, Ryan, as what Ryan was saying, is we're heading into another space, but we're still a small market overall, and most people don't go through a bottle of vermouth quickly at all.
Right.
And same with a lot of other kosher products that many of us do want. The market is still relatively small, and it's still going to take some time before people want to see the difference. They care about the difference in quality. That's still a slow moving train, I think.
Mm.
Totally. I mean, look, we also there's still a lot of products that we don't have. We still don't really have a reliable kosher sherry, dry sherry in the market. Tio Pepe comes and goes and is like, and it's like hard to find even when it's available. And so that, and there's no kosher Madeira. There's no, there's a lot of, products out there. We now finally, right, Luxardo released their Del Santo, which is the
Is that the green
green
one?
chartreuse,
Yes.
right? Which is
Yeah.
great for for those that they're making things like that. We
Mhm.
still there's the whole elderflower liqueur issue, right? There's one that that doesn't have hashgacha on it, but it is certified in France, right? That's the Massenet.
Hmm.
And there's just a bunch of other things as well. So we're not there with everything, but we're definitely going in the right direction. Is what I see.
Another question for you, Mendy, which
Sure.
is, since you are a liquor store manager, what have you seen? Are there things you've heard from customers when they're whether shopping for vermouths or they've purchased them? Are there comments, feedback, trends you've seen amongst these their vermouth shopping?
Most of the people that are coming into the store that are looking for vermouth are looking for cocktails, right? They're not
Yeah.
looking for to have it as an aperitif or a digestif. They're looking for a Manhattan. They're looking to put it in there, or to put it in their Negroni, to put it in
Yeah.
in a cocktail. And so because of that, people are not rushing to buy the more expensive ones, right? They're
Mhm.
looking for more, on the inexpensive. But at the same time, they do want there are more and more there are people that want a good product. If they're making a cocktail, they don't want it to have a product that's going to ruin their drink. Why would anyone want that? It's the same thing if you're making food. Why would you buy an ingredient that's going to ruin your dish?
Right.
Like nobody wants that. And in general, there's definitely more educated consumers in the kosher world, in the kosher keeping world. It changes depending on store and on neighborhood. So here in Teaneck and in Bergen County, I have many customers that are even let's call it somewhat educated in wine and in liquor and spirits. But if you go to other parts of the Orthodox Jewish community, right, kosher keeping community, they have very few people that are educated, or even somewhat educated.
They have a
So
lot to
and
learn. There's a big room for
they
growth.
do.
Okay.
No, 100%. And the truth is it's something that I talk about all the time with other owners and managers
Oh, really?
and distributors. Is that educate? We need
Uh-huh.
it's such an important piece.
Mhm.
Like we'll talk about wine for a second. Like the difference between Marcelon and a Malbec or a Petit Syrah and a Syrah. Like now, how many of those that know the difference. Whether know the difference, right? So
I don't even
it's
know.
but it's not a
Yeah.
bad thing that
Yeah.
you don't know. But it's better if you're educated. You're also
Right.
able to you're also able to know what you like more and what you don't like. When someone comes in the store looking for something, so I ask 3 to 5 questions that standard questions that gives me an answer. So now I know which direction to go. Now I can go to that direction. With a few questions. But there are times when I ask those questions and the answers I don't know. Well, I don't know. Even on like how much do you want to spend? Like so because that does change. It changes. You know what I mean? We have wines in the $10 range. We have wines in the $100 range. So and and also flavor profiles, all these different things. But it's incredible that we have so much in the kosher market. It's really incredible. It's one of the things that I talk about all the time, that there's over, as of, I don't know, I'm not sure about now in 2025, but hopefully we'll get an updated number. But I'm going into 2025, there was over 5,000 SKUs, SKUs, 5,000 different kosher wines on the market. That's a crazy number. Like, and again, I don't know how, the different stores. I could tell you that in this store in FillerUp, we have less than 800 in the store. 5,000 on the market, and I have less than 800. So it's, whether you want to or not, it's been curated. I have to curate it because I can't take everything in. And people come in all the time looking for this wine or that wine that I don't have. And it's like, you don't like it? Well, it's not necessarily that I don't like it. It just doesn't fit. Sometimes I don't like it. But also it doesn't fit into, with price point and country of origin and all the different things. So, I'm trying to, I try to have a nice wide spread of all of those things. And now we have wines from Italy that we've never had before. There are 4 kosher Barberas on the market. With the first time we've had a Barbera d'Alba. I mean, the whole market has thank God, is growing. Spanish wines, Babol grape, which most people have never heard of Babol. And right, and there's so many different things, and that the kosher market keeps growing. And I think it's and the kosher spirit market, and I think it's great.
Mendy, this has been fascinating, inciting. I've learned a lot. Before we go, is there anything you would like to promote?
Just the store, FillerUp Kosher Wines. We're in Teaneck, New Jersey. You can find our hours online. I'm here most of the time. When I'm not here, I have this guy Javier who don't be shy. You can add. He knows more than most. He knows more than me. He's very and he really is very helpful. We're really here just to help people find what they want. I try to carry not just on spirits, but on the wine side also wines that are not typical.
Thank you so much. This has been very insightful, very helpful, definitely helpful for me. And with that, I want to say l'chaim.
L'chaim, Drew. Always a pleasure. L'chaim. We be a good year for all of us.
Amen. L'chaim to that.
L'chaim.